everyone, and welcome to the Whatcom County Council meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order for May 2nd, 2017. Could you please call the roll?
Barbara Brenner.
Here.
Red Brown.
Here.
Barry Buchanan.
Here.
Todd Donovan.
Here.
Ken Mann.
Here.
Satpal Sidhu.
Here.
Carl Weimer.
Here. Thank you. Could you please rise and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, could you ask for a show of hands how many years for journalism or in the journalism classes?
That's not fair.
I think it's cute.
So, just a couple of housekeeping announcements. If you have your cell phone with you, please place it on vibrate or off during the meeting. If you'll be handing out any paperwork during either the open session or any of our public hearings, please make sure the staff right here in the front gets a copy. We will go ahead and move into our public hearings for the evening. Audience members who signed up at the back of the room prior to the beginning of the meeting will be called first, and you'll be asked to form a line on either side of these two podiums. If you did not get a chance to sign up, don't worry, we will allow you to speak after the ones who have signed up have finished. Each speaker should state his or her name, and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak, and the staff will give you a warning at 30 seconds, and then they will inform you when your time is through. We have two public hearings tonight. The first one is a resolution to sell tax title property by public auction. Do we have any kind of a staff report? I don't think so.
It's in our pack.
I will open the public hearing. Does anyone want to speak to us about tax title property going to auction? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing and put it back to council. What's the council's wishes?
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, just for procedure, there was two items on the list.
But they're both
Correct.
the same.
Did you both limit this up?
We'll be doing one at a time. It's a separate list.
Yeah.
The next one is the same thing. It's just a separate list. Resolution to sell tax title property by public auction. We don't have a staff report. I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that may be interested in this public auction? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. And what's the wishes of the council?
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. We will now move into our open session. During the open session, audience members will have up to 3 minutes as before to address the council on any issue that's relevant to county council business. Before beginning your comment, please state your name and your topic of interest. And the same 3 minutes apply. Wendy.
Wendy Harris. I'm here to discuss the critical area ordinance. I'm a little concerned about the way the process is unraveling. We're spending a lot of time on issues that aren't that important and issues that are likely to make the CAO more non-compliant. And in the meantime, we're missing these big blinking lights of non-compliance out there. We're not talking about the CARAs, we're not talking about the farm plans, and most importantly, we're not talking about the science. And I think part of the problem is you're not being well served by the staff. They're not giving you the information you need to do your job. And so I'd like to help you keep in mind the analysis that needs to be used as you're going through the critical area process. The first thing the county was required to do was to identify and designate critical areas. Then it was required to protect the functions and values of critical areas and their ecosystems in which they're located from a net loss of function. And they needed to do that through reference to best available science. That means when we determine buffers, when we look at setbacks, when we look at any of these performance standards, there must be in the record a substantive review of the best available science standards. And that's why when you look at most best available science reports, there's pages of studies. If you look at ours, there's only a few. And it's even less than that, because if you actually go through and you look at the two categories, science that was reviewed and relied upon, and science that was reviewed and not relied upon, there are whole sections without any science. There's no science listed for administrative provisions, even though it contains the performance standards, mitigation, exemptions from critical area ordinances, period. Those are really important things that need to be documented by science. There's no science reflected for farm plans. There's no science reflected for geohazards. There's no science for that was accepted after review for the CARAs.
30 seconds,
I
please.
noticed when I looked at the website today that the Department of Ecology has just sent in a number of different studies to supplement the wetland provision, additional science that we should have considered that we didn't. There are certain things that are very standard, publications that have been put out by the state government that are supposed to guide us through the CAO process that aren't being followed.
Time.
So we're in a lot of trouble. And I just ask you to consider the method of analysis. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to us during this open session? Seeing no one, we will move on to Finance and Administrative Services.
Mr. Chair, the Whatcom County Finance Administrative Services Committee met today and we considered items 1 through 5 on the consent agenda. These all received unanimous approval and I so move.
Okay, well, that motion is before us. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Natural Resources.
Mr. Chair, Natural Resources had a presentation about purchase of development rights committees, rankings of projects, but we did also consider a resolution for a specific project relating to Squalicum Forest, authorizing the pursuit of some funds that could potentially be used as matching funds to potentially in the future purchase those development rights, and the committee recommended unanimously to approve that resolution.
Okay, that's the motion before us. Discussion, Ms. Brenner?
Well, I just want to make sure, because it was clear to me, but a little confusing. I want to make sure everybody agrees what we're voting on. We are voting on one project.
Right.
That's it.
The preliminary part of one project.
Right, but none of the other 15.
Right.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. And back to Finance.
Mr. Chair, the next item was a resolution authorizing an interlocal cooperation agreement with other municipalities in Skagit County, Whatcom County, and Island County, agreeing to participate as a member of the regional consortium that will qualify the area for additional funding to address homelessness and a shortage of homes affordable to low-wage workers and others. This received unanimous approval, and I so move.
Okay, we have that motion before us.
Second.
Discussion?
We're going to need a second.
I don't think we have to.
Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, the next item was request authorization for the county executive to enter into an interlocal agreement between Whatcom County and the City of Bellingham for management and operation of the joint city-county aquatic invasive species Watercraft inspection program for Lake Whatcom and Lake Samish in an amount of $246,000. In this case, the council is acting as the Whatcom County Flood Control Zone District Board of Supervisors. This received unanimous approval, and I so move.
Okay, discussion on this motion? Ms. Brenner?
Just to make sure that I understand it correctly too, the amount has gone up by about $25 per year, but we have, 25,000. I meant 25,000. But we also have more places where people can take their watercraft.
More staff.
More staff too, but more places, which, yeah.
Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, there was nothing else from finance.
Okay, we'll move on to council appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. We have one appointment to the Noxious Weed Control Board for District 3. The applicant is April Bader. I would entertain a motion to appoint.
Move to appoint?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Yes, Ms. Brenner?
I just wanted to make sure on all of these nominations that they say District 1, District 3, this or that. Are they in the new districts or are these the old ones? They're all the new ones, right? We've checked.
The new districts.
What?
The new districts.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Next is the executive appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. He is requesting confirmation of the county executive's appointment of Melody Kirk to the Whatcom County Agricultural Advisory Committee.
I'll
Ms.
move
Brenner.
approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to confirm.
Oh, to confirm, right.
Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Brown.
I first met Melody several years ago when we ran for office, and while I won't say that we share the same political views, I did want to point out that she's been very active in politics and community, and it's very nice to see someone as young as her take such an interest.
Yes, Ms. Brenner.
I wanted to add, she's been very active in agricultural issues, too.
Okay. Any
Specifically.
other comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes 6-1 with Councilmember Mann opposed. Next is requesting confirmation of the county executive's appointment of Glenn Alexander to the Whatcom County Marine Resources Committee.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to confirm. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Excuse me, I want to make one correction. Jill was just correcting what I said about the
District.
districts. The noxious weed districts are different than the council districts. Do you want to explain that a little better?
Huh?
They have their own maps.
They're different districts. If you go in my office, you can see on my map, there
I
are
was
roughly
wondering.
5 districts in a row going down from north to south to the county, and they're the established noxious weed districts.
Those predated any of these
Those,
others?
yeah, they predate a lot, so.
Okay.
Okay. We're on to introduction items. We have 6 items. Do I have a motion to introduce?
I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to introduce. The number 3 has an additional information blue cover
Right.
for your additional information. All those in favor of introduction, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. We're on to other committee reports. Natural Resources, do you have another item, I believe?
Yeah, Natural Resources met this morning, and we had the presentation on the purchase development rights properties that are in the pipeline, separate from the one that we voted on that resolution. Gave some direction to staff to maybe come back to us with different ways to rank these things. We had second item, and a much larger item where the committee was presented a report on the flood fund and deficiencies in the flood fund and our ability to continue to provide services for protecting water quality, preventing flood, doing flood mitigation projects. All these things we've been funding with the flood fund for stormwater stuff and flood things that we are now burning into reserves for. And I believe we directed staff to come back with a menu of service levels that we may be able to continue and revenue options that we might have to consider to be able to keep treading water or even potentially do more than we're doing right now. And we'll be picking that back up at the surface water work session soon.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Donovan. Ms. Brenner, you had a Public Works and Public Health and et cetera meeting?
Well, first we had a presentation from the Public Defender's Office, And I would like to say a big kudos to the Public Defender's Office. They are the recipients of so many performance awards, and I am really impressed. So we've got some wonderful county departments that go way above and beyond expectations of anybody, and they're one of them. They're doing great. That was the first thing. The second one was an update on requirements for home occupation approval, and we got some information from the county administration, legal information that I do not understand, and I'm really concerned that we're getting legal advice that says, ooh, we just, maybe, remote, we don't know, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think it's correct. So I'm not happy with what happened, but stay tuned because I'm going to bring it back up again.
Planning.
Yeah, we had one item in the planning, and it was a discussion about an ordinance, which we just introduced for a hearing, I think, at our next meeting. And it revolved around a comp plan amendment that dealt with the character plan for Point Roberts, moving some of that out of the comp plan and into the Title 20 zoning, so it gives them flexibility and more efficiency for changing stuff about the character of Point Roberts. So we'll be hearing about that more at our next meeting.
Okay. Other items of business from council members?
Nothing.
Yes.
Yes.
Following up on what Councilmember Weimer just reported, I went up to Point Roberts with the executive, the planning director, and you're the deputy executive?
Yes.
Tyler. Tyler's here.
And
And
Tyler.
actually, Mark's sitting back there, I think. Looks like him. Yeah, we all went up there. I didn't argue with anybody. We got along fine. And
You didn't talk to anybody then?
I did. And we actually got along pretty well.
Did you ride in the same car?
Exactly,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Quite crowded, 4 of us in it. But it was really interesting that the Point Roberts character, whatever you call it, advisory committee, however they call themselves, I'm impressed. Joel Lance is the chair now, and he is just an amazing person. He even ran the meeting, the Voters Association meeting, and he really kept people in line. It was beautiful. Yeah. I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but
Beautiful.
everybody who knows Point Roberts knows that people argue about a lot of different things, but it went incredibly well. So, and the character plan did come up, and that committee is fully in support of what's being proposed.
Okay. Any other business items and/or council member updates?
Oh, council member updates? Well, you can go first.
So, business first, I just wanted to acknowledge that this morning was the 30-year anniversary of the Law Advocates group in Bellingham, and they've done a wonderful job over the last 30 years providing free legal services to those that can't afford it. And I think there was one very moving testimony from a person who'd received assistance from pro bono law work over the course of her life. And particularly moving because she talked about all the circumstances and then how she decided to become a lawyer herself at the end of the process. And it was a very good presentation. We also had a presentation from the Washington State Attorney General, Bob Ferguson. He talked about the travel ban and the rationale and the reasons and the impact of doing that. That was very interesting. I also, Monday night, attended the Northwest Youth Services discussion group about the new facility that they're planning on building for homeless youth, which is a very much needed and very welcome facility. On a personal note, I just wanted to thank, just compliment Ms. Brenner on the publication of a new book. I don't have a copy of the book, but I found a cover page for it.
Is this all you could come up with, one page?
I don't know what he's talking about. Oh, my gosh. Well, I wish I could take credit. I wanted to illustrate children's books because there was a Barbara Brenner doing that. Now there's a Barbara
mean
Brenner
it's
writing
not you?
books.
Can't
Put
get
that on
that.
our
I want the
website.
money from it, if you want to give me the money from it.
Any other council member updates? Ms. Brenner?
Okay, I wanted to tell you what happened on our way back from Point Roberts. Everything went smooth as can be,
They didn't let
and we
Tyler
got
in.
into the US side of customs.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden, and there's 4 of us, there was nobody anywhere. But the guy says, you've been picked randomly to be thoroughly
Checked out.
inspected or whatever. So we go into the humongous building. I mean, it was like 50 feet high. I was thinking in the winter, they're gonna waste so much heat on that thing. But besides that, we go in there and we stood there. There was no one in there except the employees. There were like 5 or 6 on one side, 5 or 6 on another. Nobody even raised their eyes to look at us. One guy was sitting back in his seat with his feet up, and the rest were like poking around on their computers. And finally, the executive walked over to the closest guy and said, could you tell me what we're supposed to do? And he goes, oh, well, somebody will help you from back there. And they still didn't look up, and they made us wait even longer, and we stood and stood. And finally, they come up and they go, the 2 from the back row came up and said, well, we need your keys, and we're gonna go check the car out. They go and check the car out. 30 seconds later, okay, everything's fine. After we waited there, I would say 15, 20 minutes. I have never seen any such rude treatment in my whole life. And hopefully the executive said he would find a place for me to write a complaint. I couldn't believe it. I was saying to Tyler and Mark, I said, if anybody from the county ever behaved like that, they should have been fired. And I said it nice and loud. And that's exactly when they came up and started to help us too. It was awful. I couldn't believe it. There were 11 people sitting there, and there were just us. It wasn't like there was a line. Okay, sorry about that. I'm going to end this on a really nice note.
You punched out the guard?
No, this is even better. I'm a grandmother, and I got a new grandbaby, and I got beautiful pictures if anybody wants to see them. So,
Congratulations.
oh, it's so cute.
Whose car was it? No, that
It
explains.
was this big fancy
Yeah, so he's
car.
got like a big.
No, we did not look like
Oh yeah.
felons or
It's
anything.
his record. I've actually update.
That's what you think.
That
I
was
can say
so.
about him on camera when he's not here. An update or a prequel? We have I think last meeting of the jail finance task force Friday. The executive came today
Oh, yeah.
with a proposal. There's an explicit assumption about what the size of this is going to be. We're going to talk about that Friday. It's coming back to council. It'll be a lot of fun.
A lot of fun. Oh, you got a great sense of humor.
Anything?
Oh, I just want to talk about the jail. I think that we should pay attention to the operations of the jail or our total money we spend on public safety and law and justice, all these things combined. I think that majority of our budget, 70% of our annual budget is spent on those services. And jail is very, very small part of that, and we are really concentrating on the cost of jail. And it went from 50 million to over 100 million over the last 10 years. And we're still not able to decide, just like Seattle, should we go above ground or underground? And then after $2 billion price increase, we are going underground. So I'm saying is that that as a community we should decide. There's a lot of money in our system between city of Bellingham and Whatcom County, and I think that administration should be looking at other different ways. Than easiest thing is put it on the ballot and have people vote a levy. So that's what my 2 cents are.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And I also, I'm just, with what you just said, I think we're gonna get a completely different result because we have support from the city of Bellingham and from the mayors of the small cities. We didn't have support from the city last time, so I think this is gonna make a big difference.
Okay, seeing that we're at the end of our agenda, first of all, how many journalism students do we have tonight? Raise your hand.
See?
Welcome. We hope you have a great time with us during your stay, so.
I was gonna say, come
And-
next to meetings if you're gonna see fireworks.
Yeah,
This is the
you got
easiest
off
meeting.
light tonight.
Yeah, you got off light.
How does this go for the shortest meeting? What is the?
No,
No, this is.
we still got one shorter.
Okay, so,
It was what,
Come back next week, we guarantee a long one.
Yeah,
We are adjourned.
thank you.